Hey friend, let me be real with you. The toughest part of the day often isn't morning or midday. It's that moment when the sun dips low, dinner dishes are done, and you finally think, okay, time to relax. But right then, out of nowhere, stress shows up at your door like an uninvited guest. You might feel it as a sudden tightening in your chest, a buzzing in your mind, a clench in your jaw, or an urge to check one more email just in case. And once that stress spike hits, it hijacks your whole evening, turning your once promised calm into a frantic adrenaline loop that often leads straight into fitful sleep or hours of rumination under the covers. But here's the truth. You don't have to let those pre-bedtime stress gremlins steal your rest. In fact, stress spikes before sleep are not your enemy. They're your body's way of saying, hey, something here needs attention. And if you learn to catch them early and apply a few simple, science-backed micro-interventions, you can diffuse tension in real time and guide yourself gently back to calm. No elaborate journaling marathons, no hour-long meditations, just a handful of targeted moves you can do anywhere. On your couch, beside your bed, even standing in your hallway, before you launch into your evening wind down. So let's start by talking about how to recognize those stress signals as they flicker on your internal dashboard. Picture this. You're sitting at the edge of your sofa after dinner, maybe scrolling mindlessly between apps, or replaying a conversation that didn't go the way you wanted. Suddenly, you notice your heart is racing, even though you haven't stood up in half an hour. Your breath feels shallow, maybe even a little ragged. Your thoughts are looping. Did I say the wrong thing? Did I forget that deadline? What if tomorrow goes off the rails? That's your body flashing its warning lights. It's not trying to ruin your rest. It's trying to protect you by revving up your fight or flight system. It's saying, attention, attention. Something in this mental or physical environment feels risky. But here's the magic. You can treat that jolt as an invitation to slow down, not to speed up. Instead of hitting refresh on your inbox, you lean into your seat, you close your eyes or soften your gaze, and you name the sensation. I feel my chest tightening, my jaws clenching, my mind is spiraling. Naming it out loud or in your own head cuts the intensity in half, because your brain shifts from runaway mode into observer mode. You've literally paused the runaway train of stress. Once you've paused, the next step is breath. Not fancy breathing, just a targeted pattern that science shows flips the switch on your parasympathetic nervous system, the one that whispers rest now instead of run fast. Here's what you do. Inhale gently through your nose for a count of 4. Hold that breath for 1 count. And then exhale fully through your mouth for a count of 8. No need to force it. Let the exhale simply be longer than the inhale. Do that 3 times. On the first exhale, feel your shoulders drop. On the second, feel your belly soften. On the third, feel your mind ease. By extending that exhale, you're activating the vagus nerve, which literally tells your heart rate and your blood pressure. Okay, lower the amplitude, buddy. We're safe here. It's like flipping from high beam to low beam on your car headlights. Now, by the third round, you should feel a flicker of calm. But stress is tricky. It often hides in tension pockets around your body. A clenched jaw here, tight neck there, rigid hips all day from sitting. So after your breath, you do a quick full-body scan. Starting at your feet, notice any tension. Maybe your toes are gripping the fabric, maybe your ankles are stiff. And on your next breath, imagine the air flowing down to that spot, loosening it. Move up your legs, your hips, your lower back, your sternum, your shoulders, your arms, all the way to your neck and jaw and scalp. Wherever you sense rigidity, breathe into it. Don't judge or try to fix it all at once. Just whisper internally, "Release here." By the time you reach the top of your head, your whole body should feel more like that pillow under you, soft and supported, instead of a tense board of worry. At that point, you're ready for the final micro-intervention, naming your story. Stress spikes that hijack our evenings always come with a narrative. If I don't finish this email, I'll get in trouble. Or if I don't prep for that presentation, I'll fail. Or I can't stop thinking about that fight. So you reach for a small notepad or the Notes app on your phone, no more than a line or two, and you jot down the gist of that narrative. Worried about tomorrow's pitch, or anxious about money, or upset about last night's argument. You don't solve it, you just capture it. That act of externalizing, transferring it from your mind onto paper or screen, is how your brain says, I can let that go for now. It's been seen. It's like parking a car. You roll into the lot, you hit the parking brake, and you step away. Your mind can park the problem. And here's the kicker. You don't have to stop there. The moment you've named it, you can flow right into your pre-established evening boundary ritual, powering down devices, enjoying a light, nourishing snack, doing your gratitude or intention journaling, stretching briefly, dimming lights, diffusing calming scents, and slipping into bed for your final breath and body scan. But now you're doing it as a calm, capable person, not as a frantic, late-night warrior. You've already diffused the stress spike, you've already regained control, and you're primed to lock in rest, not stress. Over time, this sequence, pause, breathe, scan, name, takes just 2 to 3 minutes, but it prevents hours of tossing, turning, and worst-case nightmare anxiety loops. It reclaims your evening from the clutches of stress and hands it back to you. And once you've practiced it consistently, you'll find yourself catching stress earlier. Maybe you feel a flicker of tension at 7:45 instead of 8:30, and you'll diffuse it before it becomes a full-blown spike. You'll become a master of your own nervous system rather than its victim. In the next part, we'll break down each element: how to fine-tune your breath patterns for maximum vagal tone, how to identify subtle physical cues before the big chest squeeze hits, how to craft snapping confidence statements that quiet the mind's worst voices, and how to embed these micro-practices into your everyday context so they're as automatic as brushing your teeth. But for now, practice this simple sequence tonight. When stress threatens your evening, pause, breathe 418, scan body, name the story, and drift into your rest ritual on newly calm waters. You deserve that kind of peace, and your body has been waiting for the permission. So you've learned how to spot that sudden flare of tension, your heart racing, your breath shallow, your mind looping, and you've practiced the 418 breaths, the body scan, the name it and parking it trick. Now let's go deeper. How do you weave those micro practices into every evening so they become second nature, so that stress doesn't stand a chance of hijacking your rest? Picture your evening as a gentle river, flowing from the busyness of the day into the calm of night. And stress spikes are just eddies that threaten to pull you off course. We're going to build little levees, simple, reliable actions that keep the flow smooth. First, set stress check reminders. Early in your wind-down window, maybe 15 minutes before your curfew chime, have a soft alert, An app notification or a quick timer buzz gently prompt you to stop all activity, close your eyes, and do one round of that 418 breath. You don't need to wait until stress is full-blown. You proactively diffuse tension while it's still simmering. Overnight, your brain begins to expect those mini pause moments and releases stress before it builds. Second, layer in a tension release ritual right after your nourishing snack. Let's say you always sit for your snack at a small table or counter. Keep a tiny stress relief toolkit there. A smooth stone to roll under your palm, a scented roller of lavender oil to dab on your wrists, or a short 2-minute guided audio clip of calming nature sounds, or a single haiku about sunset. As you take that first bite or sip, you simultaneously roll the stone or inhale the lavender. That multisensory anchor, taste plus touch or smell, trains your brain to tag the snack moment not just with nourishment, but with deep calm. Third, build a pre-stretch tension scan. Before your full restorative movement practice, do a quick tension check right in your favorite chair. Squeeze your fists tight, then release. Shrug your shoulders up to your ears, hold for 2 seconds, then drop. Clench your jaw, then relax it. That brief contract and release triggers a mini body scan even before you stand up. It's a fast way to catch subtle holding patterns from the day. Maybe you didn't realize your shoulders were creeping up until you shook them loose, and it primes your body to move more fully when you stand. Fourth, evolve your name it and park it into a real release map. Instead of one line in a notebook, keep a small bullet journal by your snack station where you have 2 columns, trigger and action. When a thought spikes, forgot to send that report, you jot report in trigger and then your chosen response in action. Email scheduled for 8 a.m. Over weeks, you'll glance at that page, see common triggers clustering, and begin to preempt them earlier in the day. If report appears 5 nights in a row, you know to allocate 15 minutes at work tomorrow to clear that task. This map turns fragmented parking into strategic prevention. Fifth, weave mindful connection into your winding down. Stress often arises from feeling isolated and overwhelmed. So right after your journaling or snack, call or text someone you trust. 5 seconds to send, "Hey," mentally circling that meeting tomorrow, "just wanted to say good night," or a few words of gratitude. That quick human check-in floods your system with oxytocin, dissolving cortisol, and reminds your brain you're not alone in stress. It's a powerful buffer before your final rituals. Sixth, optimize your environment dynamically. If you use lighting cues, vary the color temperature subtly as evening deepens. Start with warm whites for snack time, shift to deeper ambers for movement, then to near red hues for bed entry. Your eyes and brain register each step as a new phase, and stress is less likely to latch onto the static environment. Similarly, if you diffuse essential oils, rotate between lavender, chamomile, and vetiver across nights to keep your senses attuned rather than habituated. Seventh, incorporate a micro-forgiveness pause exactly 5 minutes before lights out. Lie in bed, palm on heart, and silently say, "I forgive myself for today's missteps. I release what I cannot change." Science shows that forgiveness lowers physiological stress markers. It stops the late-night self-critique that often fuels insomnia. Eighth, embed a 1-minute victory lap at the very end. As you turn off your bedside lamp, reflect on one small success. "I paused for breath when stress flickered." Or, "I parked my worry instead of scrolling." Celebrate it inwardly. That sense of achievement, even tiny, releases dopamine, reinforcing the stress-diffusing behaviors and making you more likely to repeat them. By proactively layering these levies, scheduled breaths, sensory anchors, tension shakes, release maps, social check-ins, dynamic environment shifts, forgiveness pauses, and victory laps, you transform your evening into a fortress against stress. Each micro-action catches tension before it swells into a disruptive wave, keeping your evening river flowing smooth. Over time, these practices become so woven into your wind down that stress barely registers. Your body and mind have learned to anticipate calm. And that, truly, is how you navigate stress spikes before bedtime and reclaim the restful nights you deserve. All right, we've walked through spotting that sudden jolt of tension, pausing to breathe, scanning and naming the tight spots, jotting down the worry so your mind can park it, and weaving those micro practices into your evening flow. Now let's close this chapter by talking about integration and long-term mastery. How to make stress diffusion before bed as automatic as taking off your shoes, and how to evolve these tools so they serve you no matter what life throws at you. First, recognize that your evening micro-interventions don't end at bedtime. They're part of a broader continuum that begins the moment you feel the day's demands ramping up. So start by anchoring your stress-spotting radar during the late afternoon slump. Maybe at 4 p.m., when cortisol naturally dips, you set a soft reminder. Scan for tension. Do one quick 4-1-8 breath, a mini body check, and ask, what's brewing? That short checkpoint prevents the buildup of stress that would otherwise hit you full force at 9 p.m. By catching and diffusing tension repeatedly through the day, you drastically reduce the amplitude of that final spike before bed. Second, blend your bedtime stress rituals with your existing wind-down boundaries. When your lights-down alarm chimes, don't treat it as a separate practice. See it as a cue to run your entire stress diffusion sequence. Power down your devices, run through the initial breath pause right there in bed, do a one-sentence worry dump if needed, and then proceed with your usual snack, journaling, stretch, or sensory ritual. This seamless stitching of stress relief into your boundary is what turns a standout tool into a living habit. Third, iterate and personalize. Every brain and body is unique, so pay attention to which element of your toolbox packs the biggest punch for you. Maybe you find 30 seconds of tapping the acupressure point at the base of your skull reduces tension faster than a full body scan. Or perhaps a single gratitude affirmation, I'm grateful for this moment, twice during your wind down, does more than a 10-minute journaling session. Experiment with different breath ratios, 4-1-6, 5-1-7, 3-1-5, and notice which one brings the quickest shift. Test a quick 3-word mantra like safe, loved, relaxed, and see if it outperforms I'm safe. Keep the practices that feel most potent and dump or tweak the rest. Your evening routine should feel like a perfect fit for your nervous system. Fourth, scale up to a weekly reflection. Just like you log your midnight wake-ups, keep a simple stress log for your evenings. Note which nights you felt stress slide in, which micro-intervention you used, and how quickly you regained calm. Review these notes once a week. Sunday evening is perfect. And look for patterns. Do stress spikes cluster on work presentation nights? Are they less frequent when you've exercised that afternoon? Use those insights to adjust your daytime habits. Maybe add a short midday workout or schedule a quick check-in call with a friend when you feel the day heating up. This feedback loop turns unexamined stress into actionable intelligence. Fifth, Build community accountability. Share your evening stress diffusion practice with someone who cares, your partner, a friend, even a colleague who works late. Agree to send each other a nightly done text. I paused, breathed, named, and journaled, ready for sleep. Or better yet, record a 1-minute voice memo on your phone describing your stress trigger and response. Knowing someone else is paying attention, not to judge, but to support, makes you more likely to stick with the practice and gives you fresh ideas from their successes and struggles. Sixth, anticipate life's curveballs and create ritual variants. When travel, illness, or sudden change throws you off your normal evening, you need a streamlined version of your stress diffusion toolkit that you can deploy in 5 seconds or less. For instance, if you're in a hotel room, you might rely solely on a pocket-sized lavender inhaler and a 2-minute body scan with your eyes closed. If you're on a tight deadline that pushes you past your curfew, you might swap your full ritual for a single round of 4-1-8 breath plus 1 sentence in your notes app. Pre-plan these variants so that when chaos strikes, you can still offer yourself that crucial dose of calm rather than falling back into old reactive habits. Seventh, nurture self-compassion throughout. When you do get hijacked by stress, because you will, because you're human, treat yourself kindly. Instead of chastising yourself for failing your boundary, pause and say, "That was a hard moment. I handled what I could." Then re-engage your stress pause, naming, and breath practice immediately. That self-soothing talk isn't fluff. It's what seals the habit in your nervous system, teaching it that even slip-ups are safe and repairable. Finally, celebrate your mastery. Mark milestones: 1 week uninterrupted of evening calm, a month of fewer stress spikes, or simply a night when you woke up feeling genuinely rested. Treat yourself to something joyful. A favorite tea, a sunrise walk, a new journal, so your brain tethers positive emotion to the practice. Those celebrations are the punctuation points that keep your motivation alive and remind you why you started. When you apply these 7 pillars, daytime anchoring, style integration, personalization, weekly reflection, community support, ritual variants, and self-compassion plus celebration, you're not just tossing stress practices at the wall, hoping something sticks. You're crafting a resilient, evolving system that meets stress wherever it comes and redirects it back toward ease. Over time, bedtime stress spikes become fewer, softer, and shorter. Your evening river stays smooth, and your sleep transforms from a battleground into a sanctuary you've built with intention, practice, and care. That, my friend, is how you truly navigate stress spikes before bedtime and reclaim the rest your mind and body crave.